If you struggle with shyness or social anxiety, check out our free No BS training course with actual useful advice you can do from home. None of that just get out there nonsense. The link is in the description below. For now, let's get to today's question.
The question, what's the difference between someone with Aspd and someone with social anxiety and depression? Sokolin has an excellent answer regarding this. However, let's see if I can add a bit to it. Aspd. Aspd is a collection of antisocial traits that are listed as Factor 2 traits. Factor 2. Parasitic lifestyle, poor behavioral controls, promiscuous sexual behavior, early behavior problems, lack of realistic long-term goals, impulsivity, irresponsibility, failure to accept responsibility for own actions, many short-term marital relationships, juvenile delinquency, revocation of conditional release, criminal versatility. Aspd is a collection of traits. A lot of people can have them, and they can have them for a lot of reasons. Someone might have these traits and be a sociopath, have histrionic personality disorder, BPD, or any number of other issues, and they will still behave in similar fashion. Thus why these traits you are looking at, not the reason driving the traits. A person who is a sociopath might behave antisocially for one reason, while a person with BPD might behave antisocially for another. That being said, there is no reason so assume either of, or any of these conditions will present with antisocial traits. They can present just as well without them. There is a diagnosis of Aspd that is found in the DSM-V. It covers a collection of behaviors, and leans heavily on it being caused by environmental factors. There is likely a genetic predisposition for it, but the sheer numbers of people that qualify for the diagnosis is too large to assume that it is a condition entirely of its own, but is more likely trait presentation that is similar, but stretches across a number of conditions. Instead of being the condition itself, it is a manifestation of traits that is rooted in something else. Depression and anxiety are chemically dependent conditions that can exist comorbidly or separately. They are both debilitating in their own respects if they are severe enough, and together are even more damaging. They are both treatable with medication, but this is not a cure-all. Some people experience significant relief, while others are still left struggling. Here is the caveat and on that I did not see mentioned in other answers. Aspd is, as I said, a collection of traits. It can occur with a number of conditions, psychopathy included. This is where there is a significant divide, however. On the one hand, psychopathy if presenting with Aspd traits will not be comorbid with either anxiety or depression. The structure of the brain being different prevents this possibility. However, Aspd and other comorbid conditions can and might present with anxiety or depression alongside it. This being the case, someone can have Aspd traits and anxiety and/or depression, as well as suicidal ideation, but when comorbid with psychopathy these traits will be absent. On that same note, anxiety and depression as standalone or comorbid conditions do not often have Aspd traits. However, depression can cause an impairment in empathy and willingness to care about the condition of those around the person affected. It is not a common presentation if I am correct, but it isn't so unusual that it is unknown. The three conditions have an interesting interplay, and there is a lot more to be sussed out regarding them and their connections in the brain. We are at the very genesis of what different presentations and conditions that our brains can create. It will become more complex as time goes on, but that simply means far more interesting. Find more answers and a free audiobook on how to talk to anyone in the description below. No useless advice like just get out there, I mean actual useful advice from people who have really dealt with shyness and social anxiety and overcome it in their own lives.